Okay, so we are about 10 minutes to midnight, and Zoe's 24-hour readathon Read by Zoe will be starting in about 10 minutes. I am actually just getting comfy, just changed into my PJs, got the dog settled, that kind of thing. I'm going to be starting off with the book jumper. And by that name I can't pronounce, as I mentioned in my other video. I kind of read the first chapters of each of the books that were on my pile, as mentioned in my TBR for the readathons. And that was the one that caught my attention, and I was kind of excited before to start it out. And so yeah, that's the beginning of the vlog for this readathon. I don't know how far I'll get tonight. I had an early morning, and so it probably won't be too late of a night. I did want to at least see midnight. So yeah, that's where that is. See you in the next clip. Bye. Hey y'all, so it's about 8:30 on Saturday morning. I just woke up. I'm gonna go out, have some coffee, some breakfast, and then get back into reading. I got 127 pages done through the book jumper last night, so made some pretty good progress before I ended up going to bed. And that's pretty much where everything is right now. I do have an appointment later on today at my local salon, but other than that, not really anything planned, so just gonna keep on reading. Check back in a few hours. Bye bye. Okay, so we're a little bit past noon on Zoe's 24-hour readathon. I am about 30 or so pages from the end of the book jumper. I did take the dust cover off. It was getting very annoying. It kept slipping. So far, that book wasn't really what I thought it was. I thought it was a fantasy, but it's kind of more of a, I guess it would be considered a magical realism, because it takes place in like our world, but there are these magical people. They can jump into stories. This book features a lot of characters from very classic stories like Pride and Prejudice and Shakespeare and Peter Pan, and yeah, and it's a mystery. I thought it was, for some reason I had in my head it was like a fantasy romance, and it's kind of how I thought the cover read, but it's very different from that. It's a little, way more of a mystery. There is a little bit of romance in it, but honestly that's only come about in probably about the last 50 pages. Maybe not even that, 40. I would say probably the last 40 pages, a little bit of romance has come out, but that's definitely not center stage in the book at all. The mystery is primarily part of it. There's not really a whole lot I can talk about without giving it away, other than that it's on this island, I think it's off the coast of Scotland by the sounds of it, because a lot of the characters are Scottish. But they're on an island, and there's these two families, and they have the magical ability to be able to enter into books, and they can experience the stories and interact with the characters within the stories. There are certain rules, like they can't mess with the story. They have to allow the plot to continue, and that actually plays a very large part of the mystery, because suddenly things are going wrong in the stories, and there's ideas going missing, and a murder, and so it'll be interesting to see how that one wraps up. I kind of get the feeling there might be a plot twist coming up, because there's a lot of questions and not really a whole lot of answers, which is very typical of kind of mystery novels, especially ones that have a big plot twist. So yeah, that one will be done shortly. And then I will be moving on to, I've decided to go on to Sea of Rust by Robert Cargill. This is a sci-fi. Basically, from how the back reads, is that it's 30 years after what mankind calls the apocalypse. The humans are basically extinct. It sounds like it had to do with like rogue AIs and machines, and there was a war, and it sounds like the machines won, basically. And they've kind of taken over Earth. And then it has to do with this I think it's a robot that sounds like maybe he or she, I'm not really sure if it even has a gender. It doesn't really say, just that the robot's name is Brittle. And it, sorry, I'm kind of just trying to summarize here. Anyway, becomes very human-like and starts to have more of a human consciousness than the programmed robotic consciousness in this society that is created by robots. That is very much, it sounds like maybe like a hive mind society, because these robots are programmed AI, so they follow their programming, but this one robot now doesn't seem like they are going to follow programming. And it looks like there's some, maybe some action, maybe a conspiracy. So I think that's the one I'm going to move on to next. So that's the update for now. I only have about an hour left that I'll have free time to read, and then I've got to go to my salon appointment. I don't get much time to read there, just because of, you know, getting dye job and haircut and that. I won't be able to have headphones and stuff in, so there won't be any audiobooks or anything I'll be able to continue on with. But yeah, so that's it for now. I'll follow up on the next clip. Bye bye. Okay, we are just about 6 p.m. my local time into Zoe's 24-hour readathon. I'm going to be pausing reading for having to have dinner in probably about a half hour or so here. My hair appointment, which I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but yeah, new hair color, new style, took a little bit longer than I thought, so I didn't get as much reading done this afternoon as I had originally hoped. But I'm about 50 pages into the Sea of Rust. So far, this has been really good. It is a sci-fi. It's kind of, right now there's been a lot of world building. The world building in it is phenomenal. Like, it's just so rich and so much to read without, again, feeling like it's an info dump, but it is at the same time. So I'm really interested to see where that story goes, because the characters that are starting to be built up, particularly the main character Brittle, it's interesting seeing the world from their point of view, as the way it is, and also as this robot educates us on how the world changed and how that change came about. I was not expecting it to go into how the change came about. So yeah, that is definitely going to be one that I'll finish tonight, probably after dinner. It looks larger, but there's actually not a lot of pages in it. I think it's only like 360 pages or so of actual readable content. You know, once you take the forewords and afterwards and study questions and that off of it, book club questions and stuff. So yeah, I'm excited for that one, and I'm gonna see how it goes. I might even start another one tonight. I don't know if I'll get another one finished today, but I'll definitely have Sea of Rust finished if I don't get interrupted too much this evening. So that's it for this check-in. Bye-bye. Alright, it's 11:15 in the readathon as read by Zoe. I finished the Sea of Rust. I actually really enjoyed that one. It was, I'm still trying to process the emotions. It was very heart-wrenching in a lot of ways, and there's just a lot of emotions that the book takes you through as you relive the life of this little robot who's probably the most human thing in the book, and her thoughts and emotions and stuff. Because there's an hour left of the readathon, I chose to move on to Grace and Fury. This is a relatively short book. I doubt I'll get it finished in an hour, but I figured I have an hour left, so I might as well see how far I can get. So that is the coming up to the end of the readathon. So I will see you in the next clip for the complete wrap-up. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, so this is the wrap-up for Zoe's 24-hour readathon as held by Read by Zoe. I finished Sea of Rest by C. Robert Cargill. I also finished Book Jumper. Unfortunately, cannot pronounce the author's name. I haven't been able to figure that one out. Both were incredibly good books in varying different ways. Sea of Rest was a lot more philosophical than I was expecting a sci-fi to be. It had me crying a lot. So if you want an emotional book, this is definitely the one for you if you like sci-fis. And this one here was a little bit more fantastical, a little bit more lighthearted. It still had a pretty twisty ending. Can't really give a whole lot out because there's a lot of mystery in this one. So that's one of the two books I finished. Ended up between the two of them reading a total of 732 pages. I had started Grace and Fury, but I only got like 10 pages in before I actually ended up falling asleep with the book on my face, so I'm not even going to consider that book started or as part of this readathon. It'll be the first one that I'm going to start with next weekend, which is Dewey's 24-hour readathon, which is my readathon for April as part of my New Year's challenges. I haven't got a TBR together yet, so I'm not sure what my big book for that month will be. I did not get Last Magician finished. I did binge read a lot of it. I don't have much of it left. But then the readathon hit and I didn't quite get it done before the readathon, so that will be my first few days in April are going to be getting that one finished before I start whatever I choose my next one to be. So I'll probably get a TBR video up shortly. So, but that's, I think that was everything I had to talk about. Oh, and Zoe did mention in her video that her theme was gratitude. I realized in none of my other clips or in my other video that I mentioned anything about that. So what I chose to do as part of gratitude theme for the readathon is I actually ended up doing a donation run of the things I've been hoarding that needed to go to our local charity shop and literary. I took some books down to our literacy society for educational books for kids. And I think that was it. I had a couple other things that I thought about doing, but I didn't want to spend a whole day running around doing stuff when the whole part of it was for a readathon. But yeah, so that's what I ended up doing as part of the theme. So big thanks to Zoe for hosting the readathon. As I mentioned in one of my last videos, I have a challenge where I try and participate in one readathon every month, and it was getting up to the end of March and I hadn't found a readathon that had appealed to me, and then Zoe announced hers. So I'll put a link to her channel in the description. Not affiliated, of course, in any way with Zoe or anything, but I do enjoy her channel. So if anyone out there actually watches my videos and is interested in a YouTube or booktuber that's very upbeat and positive, and she does this readathon every once in a while, I recommend checking her out. I always find her videos a joy to watch, and I'm sure other people would too if they haven't already heard of her. Though if you haven't heard of her, you're probably not watching any of my videos. But anyway, that's enough rambling. It's late. I'm going to end my day here and catch you guys in the next video.